Hey everybody, this is Josh Ronquist here for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, here to talk about another edition of Out Today and What I Missed, this time for May 16th, 2025. We have 20 brand new albums, 7 that are out today, 13 that I've missed along the way, so let's just get into it. First up, we have Bury Tomorrow with You Will Haunt Me with That Same Patience. The 8th album from this UK band is my first real exposure to the band despite knowing of the band for quite a long time, but I really am loving what I'm hearing. It feels like this perfect balance of second wave metalcore, modern metal, and other elements thrown in for good measure to create a sound that is just as catchy and poppy as it is heavy. You can hear a lot of 2010s influence from bands like Parkway Drive's Ladder Material, the metal era of Architects, and even some early day Miss May-I in just the right spots. This is not Funeral Doom or death grind bands that you would expect on my list, but this is a great slice of what metalcore can be in the 2020s. With pristine production and super catchy songwriting, it has a little bit of something for everybody, from the heaviest of deathcore breakdowns from the poppiest electronic parts to everything in between. And if you're wanting something like this in your metalcore, I think you should give this one a proper shot. Now we have Drroth with The Teeth of Time, 3 albums into this Portland black and death metal band's career, and it feels like the band just continues to grow, explore, and find their niche. With their latest release, it feels like the band is exploring more of the black gaze sound and using it to their advantage. Don't get me wrong, the death metal elements are still here, but they're done in such a way where it feels more like a spice rather than the main flavor. The black inside is on full force, but hearing those elements of bands like Garia and some more of the atmospheric moments of even a band like the Great Old Ones and the more extreme ends, it's a punishing mix and it truly works to their advantage. The production is raw and the mix is a bit muffled, but it's more than warranted and really fits the style. The songwriting can go all over, but the more you listen to it, the more it unlocks and the more it makes sense. This is an album not for the faint of heart, but if you dig the extreme ends of black metal and you want just enough melody and harmony to get you through, then you need to check out what Drroth has to offer in 2025. Now we have Giant with Stand and Deliver. It's astounding how this legendary Nashville AOR band has only put out 6 albums in the past 36 years, but they prove that it's all about the quality, not the quantity. This 6th album from Giant is an excellent display of that classic AOR melodic rock sound that feels as authentic in 2025 as it would have back in 1989. It's a great thing to see when a band that's been around for nearly 4 decades can still put out some of their best material, and it sounds like the music that they've wanted to create. We all know that's not true of every band of this era. The production feels like a more updated 80s sound, and the songwriting is that classic sound from start to finish, with the occasional modern twinge that just feels natural. This is just a stunning display of how to do this style right, and a true crash course on how it's done in today's age. Giant has done it once again, and if you enjoy this time period and you enjoy AOR, you need Giant, and especially this brand new album, Stand and Deliver. Here we have Noveis with Coda. The 4th album from this French outfit finds the band making their catchiest album to date, but it is exactly what they should be striving to achieve. This is what should be on modern rock radio here in the States. This couldn't be more appropriate and should be demanded by anyone who still listens to that. But the band never truly loses that progressive metalcore sound that they started off with, and it still hits just as hard as they ever have. But there are so many moments on this album that I could see the average radio listener enjoying, and maybe even discovering heavier and proggy music because of it all. With stellar production and some of the catchy songwriting this side of Prague, this is what bands who want to break into the mainstream should try to accomplish going forward. Seriously, this has everything. Signed, sealed, and delivered to those who want radio-friendly, heavy, and even proggy music. They have it all, and if you want that, this should be in your ears. Now we have Pian with Ventian Dark. The debut album from this Estonian modern metalcore band hits heavy into the current trend of industrial-infused metalcore that has taken over the 2020s, that is equal parts heavy and just the right amount of melodies and harmonies on top of that. They hit this nuanced mix of bands like Architects and Spiritbox, but they make it their own with their own unique way of songwriting that hits the catchiest moments in ways that you don't normally see coming, all while maintaining this very heavy sound, especially for a debut album, well, under this name anyway. The band has an excellent style of production at play, and the songwriting is endlessly catchy once it sinks into you. This is a band that I could see making the waves in a huge way starting today, and I really hope that they do. For anyone who enjoys the modern metalcore sound of the 2020s, this should be required listening. Help push the band into the stratosphere in this genre the way that they deserve to be. Now we have Slow Fall with Blood Eclipse. The band's third album sees the band finding more and more of their own sound and creating something that hits so very, very hard. Of course, Finland is one of the leading nations when it comes to melodeath, so to stand out, you have to do something that's going to raise people's attention. And that's exactly what this band is striving to achieve with Blood Eclipse. The band is taking the best of their signature style of melodeath, but adding more and more elements to it all, including some really proggy elements, more consumer-friendly elements, and a wicked sense of songwriting that couldn't be more effective. It's amazing how I can hear bands like Hinayana as much as I do Nailed to Obscurity, but then also hear these Jordan Rudess style keyboard leads that feel like they come out of nowhere but couldn't be more appropriate. Add a killer production style and no two songs sounding the same, and you have one of the most rewarding melodeath experiences of 2025. This is how you push the boundaries of what a genre like melodeath can be, while still being endlessly catchy and memorable. What a spectacular release. And finally, for brand new albums out today, we have Wounded Touch, with a vivid depiction of collapse. The sophomore album from this Michigan outfit feels so much like a 2006 mathcore metalcore album as it does the 2025 mathcore or metalcore one. It hits everything about these genres as they truly started to expand, hitting elements from bands like Norma Jean, The Number 12 Looks Like You, The Dillinger Escape Plan, and I do mean of that time period when the bands were very much finding their own styles. And they also started exploring more with melodies, harmonies, and genre bending to where you never knew what the next song was going to entail. You mix that with a classic yet punchy production style, and you have an album that is just as much of a throwback as it is a forward-thinking album that explores the musicality of the 2020s in a very nuanced but expertly made way, blending the past, present, and potentially the future into one is a fantastic thing to see. And if you want that in your chaotic mathcore music, check out Wounded Touch. And now for the albums that I missed along the way, starting with a band name I hope I'm getting right, A Cable with Invictus. 3 albums deep into this French melodeath band's career, and without question, it's their best work. From the endlessly catchy riffs and leads to some powerful growls that would make Angela Glasgow blush in envy, to the style of melodeath that hits everything that you expect in so many places that you never would have imagined. It's an album that is completely inspired, and it hits you right in the gut every time. While it does hit some very dark subject matter, a song title like Daddy Defiled Me pretty much gives that away, it still feels almost sing-along-ish at times, which feels such like a paradox, but when you hear it, you'll understand what I mean. The production is punchy and clean, and again, the songwriting and performances is what truly sells this album. This is a phenomenal album that is more than worthy of your time. It's dark, heavy, catchy, and will be stuck in your head for days. If you enjoy heavy music, isn't that exactly what you want? Give this one a proper listen if you dig melodeath. I can't imagine you'll be disappointed. Now we have Black Map with Hex. The 4th album from the San Francisco outfit sees the band putting out their best output to date. It sees the band continuing to expand their horizons as well. Sometimes it gets nice and heavy, sometimes it gets near post-rock territory, and of course it explores that sweet, sweet middle ground that gets ever so nice and rockin'. The band, while never hitting it in that white-hot spot in the radio charts, has been a reliable underground band that continues to put out the music that radio rock bands should be clamoring for. They know exactly what they're doing to be able to hit the music that will be stuck in your head for days, but doesn't sound particularly like any band that you can place. That is the best kind of earworm. The production is exactly what it needs to be, and the performances on display are expertly played, while never feeling any need to show off. This is exactly what you need if you want to know what should be on modern rock radio. Black Map have ruled for 4 albums now, and I hope there's no sign of slowing down, though I could really use a new Dredge album anytime now. It's been 14 years strong. That's much too long. Here we have Bladas Edge with The Fate's Key. The debut album from this Ecuadorian one-man band is spellbinding. The fact that the one-man, Sage Zavage, is 28 years old and has made an album that couldn't have been more authentically 80s completely makes your jaw drop to the ground. Everything that you love about the past and present bands like Dokken, Crazy Licks, White Lion, and Saber are here on full display, and it just keeps getting better and better every time you listen to it. The production, again, is pure 80s, and the songwriting feels like it's the best from 1986, and you haven't heard it until now. It's explosive, catchy, wild, and exactly what this style should be in every way. I haven't felt this way about a revival metal album since Skullfist Chasing the Dream back in 2014. Seriously, this is the 80s album of 2025. Here we have Cave Sermon with Fragile Wings. The third album from this Australian one-man band is truly an incredible thing to see. Charlie Parks doing everything on this album is quite the sight to behold, from the raw and effective production style to his dark and aggressive vocals on display, to the musicianship that holds this eclectic style of post-metal in high regard. This is someone who has a vision of what he wants to accomplish and nailed it from beginning to end. Doing everything on his own this go-around, Parks has improved on everything that he has done from his first songs and has created some hauntingly dark and ferocious music that is just as much for fans of bands like ISIS to even bands like Tomorrow. Again, this is an eclectic album and it won't be for everybody, but if you love this genre bending of post-metal and want to see what is possible in 2025 with it, you need to see what Cave Sermon is all about. Here we have The Fall of Me with Bathory. The debut album from this Pennsylvania band is not at all what I expected, and I mean that in the best of ways. This is another band that should be plastered all over modern hard rock radio with their sense of heavy enough hard rock and super dark subject matter. I mean, when you're talking about Countess Bathory, I think that kind of gives it away, doesn't it? The production shows off everyone in a way that feels so clean. The songwriting can hit as much of the classic metal sound as it does modern hard rock, all with natural ease. This is the kind of album that makes you want to hear more of this style, and I hope The Fall of Me continues to go down this path and sees all that is possible with it. It can be so easy to chase trends and be a copycat band. This is the antithesis of all of that. This is authentic rock and metal with a gothic tinge that I hope others will be able to discover, play, demand, and be inspired by for years to come. We need a band like The Fall of Me in the zeitgeist. Do the right thing. Make it happen. Here we have Fire Phoenix with Science Fiction. The sophomore album from this German band is everything that you love about heavy metal all rolled into one package. It can get as cheesy as 80 hair bands, it can get as blazing fast as any power metal band, and it hits those soaring vocals, shredding guitars, and excellent songwriting that you'd want to hear from any band in this style. Production-wise, it sounds modern, but the tones on display still give it this kind of vintage feel. No matter your love of non-harsh vocal metal or clean vocals, from the likes of Priest, Maiden, Dragon Force, Halloween, Enforcer, etc., you're bound to find something to love here. 10 songs, 41 minutes of pure, unadulterated metal. You couldn't ask for anything more. Next, we have Folkstone with Natura Morta. 8 albums into this Italian folk metal band's career, and they're still making incredible work 21 years after their initial start, with a short break in between. This is the first album back from said break, and it truly did the band some good. This 9-piece, that's right, 9-piece band is playing their hearts out on this one, and everyone has their part to play. From the standard metal instrumentation to the folk instrumentation that you'd expect in this style, to the occasional twists and turns, the band continues to show how folk metal can be done and still finds a way to make it fresh and authentic. The production is a bit raw, but it also works in the music's advantage. While the music is sung in Italian, you don't need to understand the language to understand the power and emotion that's going on in the music at hand. This is some outstanding work from a band that deserves all the love that they can get in the genre. If you miss folk metal, and I mean true folk metal, give this one a proper listen with the latest from Folkstone. Next up is a band name that I really hope I'm pronouncing right, Heath with Telluric in Harmonies. The sophomore album from this Romanian band has absolutely no boundaries, and I love them for it. They can go from folky to progressive to gothic to avant-garde to symphonic, all rolled into one. It takes the best of all these styles and makes its stamp of approval over all of it, and it makes for an album that is an experience like no other. It's quite hard to pinpoint the true way to describe their sound using examples, but imagine a mix of Vulture Industries, Arion, and Therion, and you might start getting an idea. It's just the kind of band where you need to have an eclectic taste of a vast variety of clean vocal metal styles, and you just may have found a new band that you'll be obsessed with. I truly love what's going on here, even if I don't speak the language. I love the emotions that are packed within it. This is an incredible display of making music that you want to make, and if you want to see what can be done with this symphonic, progressive, gothic, and avant-garde style of music, check this one out right now. Now we have Jade with Mysteries of a Flowery Dream. The second album from this Spanish band is quite the experience to behold. It hits so many layers of black metal and death metal with a nice healthy dose of atmospheric elements mixed in with some post elements as well. And the most shocking part of all of it is a good mix of clean vocals in just the right spots. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of growls and screams on this one, but it's the cleans that sets this apart from the rest. It reminds me a lot if Deadly Carnage would have kept their black metal side and started incorporating some atmospheric death metal into their sound. You add all of that together and you have a band that stands out among the rest. The production is in full force of this style and just raw enough for effect. Yeah, this is an album that you should not skip out on if you want one of them, and if you want an album that feels like a haunting display of nightmares, but it lures you in with its musical wonder. It gets better on every listen, and you discover more and more of what's going on. If you give it a chance, it just might do the same for you. Next, we have Lost Souls with Lore. The debut album from this Australian metalcore band has taken me by complete surprise. Of course, there is much of the typical metalcore elements that you would expect from a band like this, but it is done with enough nuance and originality behind it that it makes it stand out from the ever-growing metalcore sound. There are some great atmospheric elements going on, there's the occasional proggy riff going on, and as you may have guessed, it's genre bending that has me excited. It's rooted in metalcore, but it's when it's not just the chugs and the breakdowns is when you find that sweet spot that this band has to offer. Especially for a debut album, this album has a lot to offer that you would not expect, from impeccable production to the excellent songwriting. I can't wait to see where this band goes from here because they are on the right track to make a true name for themselves. Now we have Revengeance with Dark Dogma Embrace. It's been 13 years since the debut album from this Brazilian band, but they are finally back with a new lineup and keeping that strong sense of gothic symphonic metal. While the production on this one is a bit raw, it adds to the emotion of it all, and it may pull you in that much more because of it. The songwriting on display hits hard and it goes into so many great territories. The vocal display on hand is an incredible thing to hear. I can hear the likes of After Forever, Tristania, and yeah, some Epica thrown in as well, but it goes so much deeper than that. It's a dark album that sucks you in and doesn't stop till it's over. This is another example of how symphonic bands should be praised for actually maintaining their symphonic sound. Give this one a proper chance if you dig the style. I think you'll be won over. Now we have Seven Sisters with Shadow of a Fallen Star, Part 2. The fourth album from this long-running UK band encapsulates everything that I want out of a revival metal band in 2025. A band that knows how to give that new wave of British heavy metal sound, but does not make it their whole identity. The band explores a lot of great nuances of progressive metal, atmospheric space moments, and that right blend of classic metal and power metal that makes everything very refreshing to hear. While this is my first foray into the band, I will be going back and checking out everything else they have to offer, as this is an incredible album that will stick with you, and I need more of that. The songwriting feels like a pure soundtrack with its highs, lows, heavy moments, softer moments, and earworm hooks that leave you hearing it in your head for days. The production is nice and punchy, but still has a vintage vibe to it all. Everyone on display here is showing off what they are capable of for its style, and it's miraculous work. This is an album that should not go under the radar if you enjoyed the style of classic metal of yore, but want it updated just enough not to sound like a clone. This is how it's done, folks. And finally today we have Symmetry Was Never an Option with Scientist. The third album from this Polish band is a shocking display of how prog can be made in the 2020s. So much prog nowadays just focus on the down-tuned guitars, the genty riffs, and of course the breakdowns. And this band does harken back to a time where you didn't need all of that. But don't get it twisted. If you're looking for that progressive metalcore genty sound, that is here on display. But rather than it just being a genty progressive metalcore album, this is a progressive metal album. It hits on the more melodic side of things, it goes into some post-rock elements I didn't see coming, some electronic moments that couldn't have fit better. It feels like a great mix of Devin Townsend, the Contortionist, Haken, and the occasional Meshuggah moment. I wish bands were doing more albums like this instead of just trying to be as heavy or as off the wall as possible. You can be proggy and melodic, but you can also be memorable at the same time. It's been done before, and it can be done again. While I know this won't be up everyone's alley when it comes to this style, I still highly recommend giving this one a shot because it was quite the welcome surprise for me, and it just might be for you as well. So there you go, folks, another 20 albums done for Out Today and What I Missed for 2024 so far, and wouldn't you know, we have just got done covering 430 albums in 2025. So what do you think? Did I cover some good albums, some bad albums, anything that I missed out on, anything I should check out, anything you're going to check out, or anything you're going to stay away from? Please let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I want to keep the momentum going on this channel as it's been doing pretty great so far, and I want to keep that going. So until we come back next week for Out Today and What I Missed for May 23rd, 2025, and for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, this is Josh Runquist saying, embrace the skullet.